My name is Ferguson, and I am doing my presentation for the Organizational Behavior MBA 626 Spring. When I first began this class, I had been quite critical of managers that I'd had in the past, and even ones that I have today, of how they would handle things or not handle things, how situations would come up, and it was just very difficult to kind of see why they did what they did. But through this class, through the texts, through the conversations online with my blog and with my group discussions, I've been able to kind of open up a line of thinking that I didn't have before and not be quite so critical. Maybe understand even a little bit more of why managers do what they do. As I worked through the modules and I read the texts, I watched the videos, I began to see how different managers think and how they react to different situations and why they react differently to some situations than they do others. It began to be clear to me that as far as management was concerned, you had to be able to adapt to situations and not just be black and white straight down the line. These new ideas have opened up a whole new realm of understanding to me and thinking and how I view the managers that I have and how I view myself as a manager. For a good example of how my thoughts have changed is throughout this class, the last 8 weeks, I've been able to have lunch with my CEO and discuss various topics that we were discussing in our blogs and in our discussion posts. Part of this came to be very interesting because I was able to get his perspective on why he thinks the way he does and why he does the things he does. Probably the most interesting conversation we had was regarding the module number 5, when it discussed, is it ever ethical to lie at work? In my blog post and in my discussion post, I put that it was. That there were times that you could lie at work and it was okay because it was protecting the company and protecting confidential information. Through my conversation with him, he told me his approach is just to tell people flat out, I can't give you that information. I can't discuss that with you. That way no one's lying. It's not deceptive in any way, and you're not leading anyone to a conclusion, which I liked a lot better than my approach. I think that it was easier to be upfront than to lie and have to cover that lie later, because I do believe that every time you lie, it comes back to bite you in some form or another. I also liked his approach because it was very straightforward and honest. And if you have honesty in your business relationships, you have trust. And that's so important in any business relationship or personal relationship that you're trying to develop. Our conversation developed so much during the weeks as we spoke about different topics that when I brought up our group project to him and explained to him that we were going to do our presentation on workplace environment and how it affected employee behavior and employee production, he was very interested and asked me that if I would do a study on our own company. I said I would, and I'm in the process of doing that right now. So it's giving me a lot more insight into personal experience and everyday management styles of the different managers throughout our company. We have quite a few different levels of management in our company, and so they're each dealing with different situations, different types of people, and have different concerns. This allows me to look at how each person as an employee reacts to the different managers, the different management types, and find out how they are feeling about the company as a whole and as their job position, as their individual location where they're working. So I think that when it's all finished and I'm able to present it, it's going to be very informative to everyone. And I think that in the end it will benefit the employees of our company greatly. Another important enlightenment that I've taken away from this course is the concept of cultural differences. We discussed cultural differences in one of our modules, and I've always thought cultural differences as people from different countries or different cultures ethnically, where now I think that I've learned that the cultural differences can be a very broad definition of differences of people. It could be race, it could be gender, it could even be location of where you work. For instance, we have 2 plants in our company. One is in Ohio and one is in Arizona. Our corporate office is in northeastern Ohio. Between these 3 locations, we have very different ethnic cultures. Our Nova location is primarily employees that are from a farming area. They're very rural, they're very down to earth, and kind of the rough and tumbly type of men. The employees in our Arizona plant are mostly of Mexican descent. They're Mexican Americans. They have a different type of mindset about work and about the company even as a whole than the people at Nova. And then those of us that are at the corporate office are yet even a whole other cultural difference. So culture can be, I think, based on your work level, if you're a laborer or if you're a manager or if you're a CEO, in addition to being just from your ethnical background and your religious background or any other thing that you would be, I think it's classified as a cultural difference. I think that by looking and learning to look at people in those different types of groups, you can learn to address the differences better and find what motivates them better, which makes it easier to manage and makes you more efficient and effective as a manager. As I explained in my blog in Module 6, I have had very limited experience with group work. I use the experience of a group that I'm having right now that I'm involved with, where we're working with a company that we're trying to form a joint venture. Overall, since the inception of this group last year, it's been extremely frustrating. There have been very poor communication lines within the group. Everyone involved, there's about 6 of us, wants to be in charge. They all want their outcome. They all want their particular agenda to be followed. So it's been very difficult to get people to work together and get a good result out of this group. But I think after reading the modules, reading the tests, the text, and working through the blogs, I've come to find that the key to successful group work is to look at each individual, see what strengths and what weaknesses they bring, and capitalize on those. If someone's strong in one particular area, such as marketing, then put that person in charge of marketing and take what they can give you from that, instead of trying to fit them into the group to get your own agenda accomplished. I think when you're in a group, everyone brings something to the table. You just have to make that be the key point that that person focuses on, and then build upon that and have the group accept that as their input. Overall, I feel the most important thing that I have taken from this course is a deeper understanding of how important communication is in an organization. If you have poor communication, it leads to bad morale, it can lead to costly expenses, it can lead to all kinds of issues and arguing that doesn't really need to exist, and they're very anti-productive in the organizational structure. I also realize that this can carry over to your personal life. The best example I have of poor communication in my habits actually has to do with my son. He's 18. His favorite thing is to tell me, "No, Mom, that's not what you said." He also likes to tell me, he also enjoys telling me that you don't listen. Will you just let me finish what I'm saying and then you can talk? I have a very bad habit of jumping in and interrupting people when they're talking, assuming I know what they're going to say and finishing it for them. And then that can be a really bad thing when someone's trying to express to you how they feel or what's important or what's upsetting them at work and at home. And as far as his other comment that he says all the time, that's not what I said. I know what I'm thinking, I know what I'm expecting, and I know I'm thinking 5 steps ahead of what I'm saying. But the problem comes when I don't take the time to listen to what I'm really saying, and I know what I think I told him. He's right. A lot of the times, I don't say what I'm thinking, and I need to take a step back, slow down, listen to what other people have to say, and then reflect on what I'm going to say before I go and say it. And I think that that will better improve my communication skills at home and at work. It will resolve a lot less frustration, it'll create a lot better working environment, and it will give me a lot less anxiety over things. So in summary, I've taken a lot away from this course. I think that I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about being a manager and being a more effective manager. And I've learned a lot about how to interact with people better. I think that the things I've learned here I can build on. It's just the beginning level. and I think that it'll make me a much better employee, a much better manager, and a much better parent.